1, 2, 3. Ta-da! Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back. So, last video we were doing the 43mm rear calipers on here, which seemed to work pretty well. So today I'm going to be fitting some Pagid RS42 rear pads and installing a vacuum pump. Right, well, the idea behind a vacuum pump is pretty simple. So modern cars, servo-assisted brakes, petrol engine that generates vacuum relies on the inlet manifold vacuum to help drive the servo assistance. Now, what you do find on a very tuned engine with some fairly aggressive cams, that inlet vacuum is not consistent. On a turbo car, you've also only got vacuum when you're off the throttle, which is not ideal. So what I'm going to be doing is adding a vacuum pump which will give me a consistent level of vacuum assistance. However, the problem that brings about, the brakes are still heavily servo assisted, which means very little pedal pressure to actually stop the car. So what I'm going to be doing is introducing a controlled bleed to the vacuum line so that I can actually reduce the level of assistance the servo's giving me. I'd love to take credit for the idea, but that's got to go to Nige of Pinderwagen fame. Nige's been running a similar setup for a couple of years now, and apparently it's very successful. So fingers crossed. I'm going to hook it all up and we'll see how it feels. So this is a space I've got to locate the vacuum pump. So we've got the servo up here with the line coming down. Servo line runs down there and currently goes to the manifold underneath just there. So I don't really want to put it over here and have pipework everywhere. I want it this area. So there's the pump, got a bit of wiring attached to it. I kind of had ideas of mounting it somewhere like this, but it just got in the way. So if I put it there, everything just gets super crowded. So I came up with an idea to try and relocate the washer bottle to sit there, then try and mount the pump here somewhere, but it's still got really crowded. So what I've actually decided to do, move that out of the way, is hide the vac pump under this chassis leg and sit it down there. So that is going to be well out of the way. So how are we going to get it to stay down there? Typical Blue Peter style. Here's one I made earlier. I didn't film this. It is not interesting. It's cutting a bit of plate. So one pump, one bracket. That sits over there like that. There's a gap the whole way around here, so it is floating. That bracket is then going to sit on the inner wing in here. You probably, I don't know if you'll see that. You might do, yeah. And then the pump will be on that, so it'll be hidden right down out the way. So I'm just going to get the pump bolted onto the bracket, hook up a couple of wires and a relay, go inside, pop a switch in it, and then we will look at hooking up the vacuum line. Right, so this isn't permanent, but I'm just dropping this in, start hooking up some wiring and setting things up. That's going to sit in there, so that's one. Definitely haven't already lost one of the other bolts. There's one here, that'll do. Just trying to figure out lengths and positions at the minute. So that clips on there, that's going to sit down like that. That's going up there. That's going up there. This might even be neater facing that way and just have all the wires. Trial and error, isn't it? Right then guys, I've got the pump mounted and now I'm going to show you the ultimate pikey rig up to test, see how this system works. So, pump is mounted down there. What we have here is a £1.55 radiator bleed valve from Toolstation. Now I've drilled and tapped into the side so I can lock it off. Then when that's unlocked, I can twist and alter how much it bleeds off. So I'm very dodgily just gonna touch some wires together. And now what I've done is attempt to show you, I've teed that into my boost gauge line so we can look at the boost gauge in the car and see what the vacuum's reading. We're very quickly just going to bodge this on. Pump is down there, pump is running. So, vacuum. We have a pretty solid 28 INHG, inches of mercury. So we're going to come to the bleed valve. We're going to open it. You can hear the noise change. We now have about 18 inches of mercury. Open it up some more. About 14. Quite a big bleed there now. So you can see there now, we've got just 10 inches of mercury. If I pop this here and turn it, I wonder if you'll be able to see. What do you reckon? Variable vacuum resistance. Right, I'm going to call it a day here, but I've popped a switch on the dash, so watch the gauge. So, vac pump wired up, switched on. All that's left is to hook up the servo line, but I need a slightly different size D-piece, so I'll have to do that in the week. Right, we're nearly there. Right, morning guys. So, I think the last thing you saw was probably me wiring up the vac pump. That is all now wired up and ready to go. So the final thing I'm going to do before we test drive is fit the Pagid RS42 rear pads. So I'll get the wheels off, get the car up, get cracking. So that's off, that one's off, so we can slide the caliper off, pads out. And remember, these are brand new, only went in a week ago. Quickest pad change in the world. So, Pagid blues, one, so we've got 1, 2 are in. Make sure the springs line up nicely, and on it goes. Pretty simple, huh? Dead tight. That's it. It's one side done. So we'll pump the pedal, push the pads back out. That's that side finished. Again, 2 brand new pads, Pagids, 1, 2, springs, right sort of place. Rear pad swaps on these are so easy. Dead tight. Get this finger tight first. Wiggle that in. Tight. Cool. Right. Pagid RS42s on. All right then. Can't speak. Right then. It's pretty late. I'd like to show you what I've been up to, but I'm going to be honest, it's pretty much all hidden. So, the pump, as you've seen, is in. I went out, I did some road testing. It wasn't great. I think it needs a check valve in it just to maintain pressure on the servo side, so you're not always kind of resetting the system. And what I've also done, I've added a vacuum reservoir from an S5. So, the pump still lives under all this
HID wiring. The pump still lives down there. Then I've got a T-piece. The bleed lives here. So the bleed is just in there. Not that I'm going to want to adjust that on a regular basis. There's then another T-piece in here that goes up to a pipe up the inner wing. And if I come round here, you should be able to see a vacuum canister hiding in the inner arch. See if you can see it up in there. Yeah, so there that is. It's like 3 little balls hiding up inside the arch. So that is a vacuum reservoir. So it just adds to the total vacuum storage. A lot of people actually use a vacuum reservoir with normal intake vac, just so how can I put it? Just so the vacuum you've got to draw on every time you press the brake is greater. So each press will deplete a certain amount of vacuum. So if you've got more vacuum to start with, each press will deplete that vacuum source less. So it just aids in giving you a more consistent brake pedal. Right, I think I'm going to wrap that one up here, guys. Sorry it's not been the most interesting video in the world. Tune in next week and hopefully things are going to be a little more interesting, as I will be cutting out the boot floor and making space for a diffuser to come. So that's going to be pretty exciting. But yeah, it's nice to get back into videos. Thanks for sticking around. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Thanks a lot.